Hello, through my work with helping former Jehovah's Witnesses in their healing journey after leaving the religion, I do get a lot of contacts from parents who have reported parental alienation by their children because as a result of the Jehovah's Witness religion. So parental alienation is when one of the parents becomes estranged from their child, and this is usually, in a Jehovah's Witness case, it usually would be the non-Jehovah's Witness parent is estranged, and through psychological manipulation, the JW parent slowly encourages the child over a period of time usually to become estranged from the non-JW parent. This is a very real situation. It is happening. I've had many people that have written to me. I have several friends who have lost contact with their children. And this is as a result of Jehovah's Witnesses and their beliefs and their practices, which I don't think they would realize they are intentionally alienating non-believing parents, but it certainly happens. Let me describe to you what happens. So basically, I was brought up in a family where my mum was a Jehovah's Witness and my dad wasn't. And so I have first-hand experience with what it's like to have a parent that is not a Jehovah's Witness. So basically, as I was brought up very strongly and staunchly by my mum as a Jehovah's Witness, I was shown a lot of literature. A lot of time is spent with Jehovah's Witness kids, telling them about the beautiful paradise earth that is coming any minute now. There are gorgeous pictures of the marvelous things that Jehovah will bring. So Jehovah is God's name. Jehovah is going to bring this beautiful paradise where you can pat tigers, you can have pandas. It's going to be a beautiful place where there'll be no more suffering, and they paint this picture of a gorgeous paradise earth where kids absolutely want to be part of. The imagery they use, and unfortunately I don't have any literature here. I have been out for quite a long time and I don't keep any literature, but the imagery they use really catches kids. I remember I used to look at it and stare at it for hours because the imagery was beautiful. It was usually beside a gorgeous lake with tables filled with bountiful, colourful food. Nobody was going to be hungry or suffer in any way at all. So we were all looking forward to this beautiful paradise. And as kids, this was repeatedly told to us that it was not far away at all. The only thing we had to do was stay faithful to Jehovah, do everything that he requests, pray to him, have a very strong friendship. After all, he was a marvelous God who was going to give us these beautiful things. Of course, you want to be his friend. And so what happens, the kids of Jehovah's Witnesses build a very strong relationship with this imaginary person who is going to bring them very delightful things. Every week, the pictures are so strong and real that it makes kids truly believe that they want to please Jehovah in order to receive this reward. So part of the deal, part of the things that you must do as a Jehovah's Witness kid in order to make sure you don't lose out on this prize is to stay disconnected from worldly people. So this means that if you make friends with any non-Jehovah's Witnesses, you're putting in jeopardy your everlasting reward. If you become friends with anybody that's not a witness, you're basically opening up losing your friendship with Jehovah. So as a kid, I grew up not wanting to lose out on this reward, not wanting to displease Jehovah in any way. So what happens is the kids learn very quickly. I learned very quickly that you had to be Jehovah's friend. Now, my dad wasn't Jehovah's friend. My dad didn't come to meetings. My dad didn't believe what we believed. And so what that meant was that he wasn't going to make it through. Now, nobody ever specifically told me that. Jehovah's Witnesses often say, oh, but if their heart is good, Jehovah will let them through. Well, they don't really mean that, because why else would they spend hours and hours and hours preaching? And even as a kid, I truly believed that I had to witness or preach to the kids at school, because they weren't going to make it. Anybody who wasn't coming to our meetings, and often they would say things like, when the great tribulation comes, which is just before the big day of Armageddon, you should, if you're not at the meeting, you might be in jeopardy and you might not survive. So it was truly drummed into us that unless you were attending meetings, you most likely weren't going to survive. So what happens with kids who have non-Jehovah's Witness parents is they are slowly disconnected from their non-Jehovah's Witness parent. This happened to me. The process of the beliefs and the reinforcement through weekly meetings and consistently looking at their literature, which is filled with this propaganda, means that you eventually disconnect with the non-JW parent. What happens is, through a very slow indoctrination process, you come to decide that your non-Jehovah's Witness parent is not worthy of Jehovah's love, is not somebody who's going to be saved, and so you begin to disconnect with that parent. Now, I just want to say that Jehovah's Witnesses are lovely people. I always say this. I just want to make sure that it is clear that I have nothing against Jehovah's Witnesses. They are lovely people. However, there is a problem with the policies and the culture of the Jehovah's Witnesses that is causing parental alienation, and that is very clear from my experience, from the experience of others that are reported to me, and from people who write to me. I had one exactly today who wrote to me about it. The reason why it possibly comes out as well this time of year, being Christmas, I think a lot of non-JW parents want to shower their kids with love, and in the case of the person that wrote to me today, their child was beginning to block this parent off because they don't want to be compromised in worshipping at Christmas, in celebrating Christmas. So Jehovah's Witnesses clearly don't celebrate Christmases or birthdays. So what happens is, through their indoctrinations, if the non-JW parent tries to bestow a gift at this time of year, it becomes very confusing for the child, because the child has been indoctrinated that Christmas is really bad. Jehovah really hates Christmas and anybody who practices Christmas. So as soon as a parent tries to bestow a Christmas gift, which is in all honesty a kind-hearted gesture from that parent, thinking that they're trying to help, they're actually in a way beginning to notice the chasm that that child has been that child is beginning to separate from the non-JW parent. I'm going to give some advice. I'm not a professional, so my advice is just based on what I think. We're still treading on very new waters here, I think. But parental alienation has been happening for a very long time. So is there a problem with Jehovah's Witness kids being brought up Jehovah's Witnesses? Can they remain Jehovah's Witness kids and still be happy? Look, the people who are within the religion are seemingly very happy. They are seemingly leading their happy lives. And the true problems do arise when you have a non-Jehovah's Witness family member, or when you try to leave. So if you had all your family were Jehovah's Witnesses, and you never intended to leave, your life could be a fairly happy and adjusted life. If you were a Jehovah's Witness. There are issues though. These are the issues that you need to be aware of. If you are a happy Jehovah's Witness, you are placing yourself though in these difficult situations. Number one, if there is an issue with blood, if you require blood transfusion, a medical procedure that requires more than just blood fractions, your child, the Jehovah's Witness child or person, is in danger of losing their life, because they will not accept medical assistance that requires the use of more than just the basic blood fractions. Second of all, Jehovah's Witnesses very strongly discourage education, further education. So what that means is a lot of kids are discouraged from pursuing careers. This is because the end is coming, you see, because around the corner, it's a doomsday cult. Around the corner, any minute now, the end is coming. So what happens is there is no planning. Jehovah's Witnesses do not plan long time ahead. There are many reported cases of Jehovah's Witnesses not investing in housing or investing in careers because they truly believe that it is a waste of time. So as a result, Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the, and this is based on a report that you can look up online statistically, are one of the least educated religions that you will find. And along with lack of education comes poverty. Jehovah's Witnesses are also recognized as one of the most poor religious groups present in the world because they do not pursue materialistic goals. And this is very evident in their literature. This is not something that's not new. They are very proud. They are very proud at letting you know that they do not favor materialistic pursuits. They do not follow these. They don't look to make themselves rich. It is something that they really brag about, that they live simply because they believe that this world is about to end and there is no need to store up, funds or plan ahead. So there are issues with being a Jehovah's Witness. They're the two or three main ones. Blood, so medical procedures, you could lose your life. Apparently, according to some estimates, up to 50,000 people have lost their lives since the blood doctrine was introduced in the 50s. And it has changed. So at once upon a time, you couldn't have an organ transplant. Now you can. So there were people that lost their lives when that policy did not allow organ transplants. And then there has been a change slightly in their doctrine about which blood. So now they do accept blood fractions. So all the people before the blood fractions also lost their lives because they weren't there in time for the doctrinal change. Apart from those aspects, it is concerning being a Jehovah's Witness because they are dedicating their entire life to something that isn't coming. So they may be happy and they may choose to live that life and have their happy family around them. But at the end of the day, they are living a life that is a lie because there is no... what they're striving towards isn't coming. So their entire servitude is for nothings, which is quite sad. What are my recommendations for people who are suffering parental alienation? Look, again, I'm not an expert. I can't comment. However, I feel for you because there is nothing worse than being alienated from your child, especially when your child is pursuing things with this belief in something that isn't real. It's really really distressing. It is really confusing for a kid. So if you have like an 8-year-old child, for example, that you're trying to bestow gifts at Christmas time, I think it's difficult to try and talk them out of why Christmas is okay. I think that's really challenging because the doctrinal strength of day in, day out indoctrination that the Jehovah's Witnesses do is so much more powerful than an occasional word from a non-JW parent. So if anything, I think it would be very confusing for a child if you tried to prove doctrinally what was wrong and what was right. Look, again, I'm no expert, but the cult experts, people who, like Stephen Hassan, who recommend how to help people exit cults, is not by attacking their doctrines, not by telling them why they're wrong or why they're doing is wrong, because that only alienates you further. The advice that Stephen often gives is to show lots of love, to keep lots of contact, to allow the person to trust you, and certainly not to alienate them or push them away by frightening them, because the indoctrination runs so deep. There is nothing, there's very little that you can say that will convince a person that they are right. That person has to discover this on their own. They have to come to that conclusion on their own. And usually it's some life event that happens. Look, again, I'm going to stop talking about what to do because it's not my expertise. However, I'm just going to acknowledge it's very challenging for kids. It's very hard. For me, I truly believe that Mum was right. So no matter what Dad was going to say, you know, I had been indoctrinated fully. I think, and then my dad passed away young, which is a shame. But I think had my dad survived, had he just remained a constant true friend, had he just been there showing me that life outside the witnesses is fine and enjoyable, and that he always had love for me, and that I was always allowed to come and visit him, and that he would never attack me or attack my views, I think that would have been the most useful thing that my dad could have done. The other thing I think you could do is, apart from keeping contact, is encouraging the child somehow to pursue education. Education is one of the most important things for kids to start to learn to think for themselves and to be critical thinkers and to question everything that they believe. So hopefully education is something that you might be able to offer in the sense of, you know, being there and suggesting that you would support them if they wanted to pursue higher education. It is so challenging. Parental alienation because of Jehovah's Witnesses is very real. I get regular contacts from parents. There is a Facebook support groups for parents in similar situations. So if you want to find me on Facebook, my Facebook name is Renee Kordeski. I'll leave the details down the bottom. You can contact me and I can direct you to the group that may be able to provide you support or put you in contact with parents in the same situation. I'm extremely sorry that you're going through this. I'm extremely sorry for the pain of all the parents who are missing their kids. And this is why I continue to make videos, just to educate and let you know, look, there are some people that choose to go down the custody route. This route is very challenging. You will need a lot of support. You will need to do your research. Every country and every state in those countries have different laws, so you will have to invest in somebody who can advise you. But you know, the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses prevent medical treatment, the fact that they prevent education, these are highly documented things that can be used to prove that your child is disadvantaged by the Jehovah's Witness religion. So these are very personal decisions. I wish you all the best. I'm sorry that you're going through this, and I don't know what to say. What can you say? I hope this video has been useful in giving you some ideas and support. You are not alone. You are not alone. The main reasons why I make videos is to let you know that you are not alone. Parental alienation is very real. It is happening. Inform yourself. Look at all the policies that the Jehovah's Witnesses do put in place, and the culture that does support and coerce parents to use psychological manipulation to estrange their children from non-Jehovah's Witness parents. It's real. Okay, thank you. Bye.